Here are today's headlines. President Duterte vows to ensure justice will be served for slain OFW worker Joanna de Mafelis. The Presidential Electoral Tribunal issues a gag order on the Robredo and Marcos camps over the vice presidential election protest. The Philippine government explains its decision to secure financing for infrastructure from China. And Greenpeace ship Rainbow Warrior is set to visit Tacloban to campaign against climate change. Good day, I'm William Theo.
And I'm Pia Rosas Morato. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom.
President Rodrigo Duterte vowed justice for slain Filipino worker Joanna de Mafelis as he visited her wake in Iloilo.
The government is also maintaining the deployment ban to Kuwait as it works on ensuring the protection of other Filipinos. Here's a report.
President Rodrigo Duterte visited the wake of Joanna de Mafelis, the overseas Filipino worker slain in Kuwait, in her hometown in Sara, Iloilo. Aside from expressing his condolences, the president promised financial and educational support for the de Mafelis family. The president says he is leaving matters into the hands of the Interpol and the Kuwaiti police, the search for de Mafelis' killers, and ensure that justice will be served. The president earlier said the government is also looking at other countries where Filipinos are possibly being maltreated. The president also said the ban on OFWs in Kuwait will remain until Kuwait signs a bilateral agreement ensuring the safety of Filipinos there. Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque reiterated that the Philippine government will actively espouse the right of the family of de Mafelis to obtain justice. He expressed hope that Kuwaiti authorities would give the de Mafelis family adequate domestic remedy. Roque also assured that the deployment ban will not affect the relationship between the Philippines and Kuwait. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Rom Dulfo.
Kuwaiti ambassador to the Philippines Saleh Ahmad Al-Waik said the bilateral ties between the Philippines and Kuwait remain intact and the two countries continue to enjoy good relations. The ambassador made this assurance amid President Duterte's sentiments against abuses and maltreatment of overseas Filipino workers in Kuwait, as well as the Kuwaiti government's reaction to how the image of the Gulf state is painted. Al-Waik said the issue on OFWs being taken into another stage of cooperation. He said the extension of the amnesty program for overstaying OFWs is a way of showing Kuwait's compassion and adherence to humanitarian causes. The Philippine Embassy in Kuwait has already processed 3,801 travel documents for workers since the amnesty period began. To date, 1,796 Filipinos have already been repatriated.
Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez urged the Department of Foreign Affairs to file a diplomatic protest against the United States over its intelligence report claiming President Rodrigo Duterte is a threat to democracy and human rights. Alvarez said it is the U.S. who undermines the sovereignty of many nations because of its meddling in other countries' internal affairs. Alvarez also called on Filipinos to unite and protect the sovereignty of the Philippines from undue interference by the U.S. The U.S. intelligence community, in its worldwide threat assessment report, named Duterte as among the regional threats to U.S. national security in Southeast Asia, citing Duterte's war on drugs and his declaration of martial law in Mindanao. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, meanwhile, dismissed the U.S. report, saying that it seemed to be merely based on the headlines of international media outfits and pointed out that the report was far from the reality on the ground.
Legal charges will be filed against establishments that continue polluting Boracay Island before the government's new Pollution Adjudication Board, or PAB. Environment Secretary Roy Cimatu ordered 100 DENR personnel to identify the sources of untreated discharges that pollute the island. Cimatu said the PAB will decide closure and imposition of penalties on the errant establishments. The DENR reported that 716 establishments do not have discharge permits and are presumed to be illegally disposing their wastewater into the sea. Cimatu gave them 2 months to either connect to Boracay Island's water company's sewage treatment plant or install their own wastewater treatment facilities. The DENR also reported already serving 41 notices of violation to establishments found polluting Boracay. The move to file charges is in line with the DENR's 6-month mission to clean up Boracay and save the world-famous tourist spot from further environmental degradation. The DENR said an estimated 17.5 million liters of wastewater is generated daily in Boracay.
The Dagupan Electric Corporation or DCorp will increase its power rates by 3 centavos per kilowatt hour this month. Spokesman Randy Casillan said this was due to the higher excise tax on coal, which power generators were passing on to distribution utilities such as DCorp. He estimated that more than 50 pesos would be added to the usual monthly electric bills of households consuming 100 per kilowatt hours. DCorp buys 40% of its power from coal-fired power plants and the rest from hydropower plants. The Central Pangasinan Electric Cooperative, or CENPELCO, will also increase its electricity rates this February for the same reason. DCorp and CENPELCO said another reason for the rates hike is the 6 centavo per kilowatt hour increase in the transmission charge imposed by the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines. Both distribution utilities said consumers would not feel the rate increase if they save on electricity, especially when they use appliances that are eco-friendly.
Still to come, the Presidential Electoral Tribunal issues a gag order on the Robredo and Marcos camps over the vice presidential election protest. The Philippine government explains its decision to secure financing for infrastructure from China. These and more when the PNA Newsroom continues.
The camps of Vice President Leni Robredo and former Senator Bongbong Marcos were ordered by the Supreme Court to stop commenting on the ongoing vice presidential election protest. Here's our report.
The Supreme Court, sitting as the Presidential Electoral Tribunal, or PET, has issued a gag order on the camps of former Senator Bongbong Marcos and Vice President Leni Robredo in connection with the former election protest. The PET, which is set to begin the recount next month, also ordered Marcos to comment on the motion filed by Robredo to withdraw any and all pending motions which may delay recount proceedings. The recount covers Camarines Sur, Iloilo, and Negros Oriental, which were chosen by Marcos as the best provinces where he could prove the irregularities he cited in his poll protest. Marcos filed the protest on June 29, 2016, claiming that the camp of Robredo cheated in the automated polls in May that year. Robredo filed a counter-protest questioning the results in more than 30,000 polling precincts in several provinces where Marcos won and sought the dismissal of the protest for lack of merit and jurisdiction of the PET. The High Tribunal junked Robredo's plea and proceeded with the case. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
President Rodrigo Duterte said he was invoking executive action when he banned Rappler reporter Pia Ranada from covering Malacanang events. Duterte said Rappler's reporters would be allowed to cover presidential events again if the Securities and Exchange Commission would declare Rappler a 100% Filipino-owned online news outfit. The SEC revoked Rappler's registration for violating foreign equity restrictions in mass media. Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque explained that Granada was allowed to cover Malacanang because of liberality on the part of the president. However, this accommodation was also revoked because of her insistence that her news stories were true despite facts to the contrary. He asked the public not to make Rappler's issue a matter of press freedom since it was more about spreading fake news.
The Department of Finance explained the government's decision to secure financing projects with China despite its higher interest rates. China has already prioritized 3 infrastructure projects for financing. Here's our report.
The Philippine government is securing financing from China for its infrastructure projects in an effort to fast-track their implementation. Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia said that while China charges an interest rate of 2 to 3% compared to Japan at a mere fraction of 1%, the country cannot get all the loans from Japan's official development assistance as they have to give to other countries as well. Pernia added that China's 2 to 3% interest rate is still much better than commercial loans. While the Philippines has long-standing good relations with Japan, Pernia also noted Japan's slow pace in the process of implementing projects. Pernia stressed that the country has not yet signed any loan agreement with China. He also reassured that mechanisms would be put into place for Chinese companies keen on participating in the government's infrastructure program. 3 projects have so far been prioritized by the Chinese embassy and the concerned Philippine government agencies for loan financing from China. Pernia further said NEDA is currently updating the indicative list of priority projects for possible development cooperation with the Chinese government in coordination with the Department of Finance and the concerned government agencies. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Abs Abando.
A bill seeking to make barangay health workers and watchmen as regular workers was filed by Pangasinan Representative Christopher De Venecia. De Venecia said this would give due recognition to those who are sacrificing their time and energy to save lives and preserve peace and order in their respective villages. De Venecia proposes that instead of receiving an honorarium, barangay workers should get more equipment, benefits including insurance, and enjoy security of tenure. The congressman even observed that some health workers are spending their own money in bringing their sick barangay colleagues to hospitals. In a consultation with health workers and barangay tanods in Dagupan and Pangasinan, De Venecia learned that barangay personnel wanted to be treated as regular workers. De Venecia called on the barangay health workers and village watchmen not only in Pangasinan but also throughout the country to support the proposed measure.
5 suspected illegal drug pushers were arrested by agents of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency in Legazpi City. PDEA Regional Director Christian Frivaldo said agents armed with a search warrant arrested Salvacion Balarbare at her residence in Purok 2, Barangay 8. Seized from Balarbare were 60 grams of suspected shabu with an estimated street value of 360,000 pesos. Also arrested for possession of illegal drugs were high-value target Vicky Guzman, alias Rhea, from Caloocan City, who is a sister of an incumbent barangay captain. The suspects are now under custody of the authorities at the PDEA detention facility. Up next, about 5,000 jobs will be offered in a job fair in celebration of the EDSA People Power anniversary. The Greenpeace ship Rainbow Warrior is set to visit Tacloban to campaign against climate change. These and more when the PNA Newsroom returns.
Over 5,000 jobs would be offered at the one-day job fair in celebration of the 32nd anniversary of the EDSA People Power Revolution on Sunday. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III encouraged job seekers to visit the Trabaho, Negosyo, Kabuhayan Job and Business Fair at the Quezon City Hall grounds from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Philippine Overseas Employment Administration said a total of 5,000 job orders in the land-based and sea-based sector would be offered by 10 participating recruitment agencies. The countries of destination are Qatar, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Papua New Guinea, Australia, New Zealand, Taiwan, and Malaysia. Dole National Capital Region said that 442 vacancies will be offered by local employers. There would also be a simultaneous distribution of iDole OFW cards during the said event. Bello reminded applicants to bring the necessary requirements to make filing of applications easier. This year's theme of the EDSA People Power Revolution anniversary is EDSA 2018 Effecting Change Towards Strengthened Democracy.
Another human smuggling attempt was foiled by immigration officers as they intercepted 3 foreign nationals at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminals 2 and 3. Bureau of Immigration Port Operations Division Chief Mark Redmarinas said those arrested were a Cameroonian and 2 Bangladeshi nationals. The Cameroonian was reportedly caught attempting to leave NAIA 3 with a tempered French passport, which BI officials suspect will be used to enter France illegally. The 2 Bangladeshi nationals were about to depart for Toronto, Canada when they were intercepted at the NAIA 2 terminal. A verification from the Canadian Embassy revealed that the Electronic Travel Authority to Canada was fraudulently obtained. The embassy added that the Bangladeshis could not possibly enter Toronto as they did not have visas to enter the country. Marinas said the 3 passengers were clients of an international human smuggling syndicate that manufactures and sells fraudulent counterfeit travel documents. They are now detained at the BI detention facility pending deportation proceedings.
Southeast Asian Games medalist Samantha Kyle Katantan will spearhead the country's campaign in the Asian Junior and Cadet Fencing Championships. The tournament will be held from February 24 to March 4 at the Hamdan Sports Complex in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Katantan won the silver in the women's individual foil event in Malaysia last year. The University of the East player also bagged her second straight Most Valuable Player award after leading the juniors team to its 7th consecutive title in the UAAP. Maxine Isabel Esteban, a bronze medalist in the 2017 SEA Games, is also going to Dubai along with fellow foil players Maricar Matienzo and Anika Abakin. Also joining is Samuel Tranquilan, a member of the team that won the silver medal in the men's team foil event during the 18th ASEAN University Games in Singapore 2 years ago. Head coach Rolando Canla said the tournament in Dubai is part of their preparations for the ASEAN Games. The team is also scheduled to compete in the World Championships in Italy this April.
Environmental group Greenpeace, through its ship Rainbow Warrior, is setting sail to Tacloban City.
The ship is touring the country to promote environmental protection and ways to mitigate the effects of climate change. Here is our report.
The Greenpeace ship Rainbow Warrior will visit Tacloban City for the first time as part of its visit to areas affected by climate change. The Rainbow Warrior will remain at the port until March 5 and serve as a global platform for the climate justice movement and other impacted communities from which these stakeholders will unite to pressure the government and involve corporations into acting against factors causing climate change. The visit will kick off with a press conference on board the Rainbow Warrior ship, followed by the opening of the library, an arts and culture presentation highlighting the call to break free from fossil fuels. Larga Vista, a film showing from the region's directors, will open on March 2, followed by an open boat green fair exhibit on March 3 and 4. Tacloban will be the last stop of Rainbow Warrior in the Philippines, having previously docked in Manila in the Guimaras Island. The tour will wrap up with a regatta of fishermen and dragon boat race on the last day. While in Manila, the Rainbow Warrior visit highlighted the power of the people, asserting their rights to safe and ecologically sourced food and resilient and thriving oceans. In Guimaras, the Rainbow Warrior called for the end of coal as an energy source and highlighted the importance of renewable energy. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Feline Cervantes.
The Hugpong Nagpagbabago, or HNP, a political party created to support President Rodrigo Duterte's agenda, was introduced to the public today by its chairperson, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio. Other officers of the party included Governors Claude Bautista of Davao Occidental, Anthony Del Rosario of Davao del Norte, Nelson Dayanghirang of Davao Oriental, and JV Tiron Oy of Compostela Valley. Mayor Duterte Carpio said the HNP has the blessing of no less than the President himself and plans to register with the Commission on Elections after today's first General Assembly in Davao City. Some 500 mayors, vice mayors, board members, and councilors were expected to join the assembly. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Abs Abando.
We're welcoming the weekend on a somber note, Pia, as we commemorate the 35th EDSA People Power Revolution this coming Monday.
And we're also experiencing warmer weather than usual, as it seems summer isn't coming around the corner just yet.
Yes, but we'll learn more about that soon. But for now, let's take another look at today's headlines.
President Duterte vows to ensure justice will be served for slain OFW worker Joanna de Mafelis. The Presidential Electoral Tribunal issues a gag order on the Robredo and Marcos camps over the vice presidential election protests. The Philippine government explains its decision to secure financing for infrastructure from China. The Greenpeace ship Rainbow Warrior is set to visit Tacloban to campaign against climate change.
Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter.
For more stories about the government and all that it is doing for the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites.
And that's your daily dose of the hottest news
and the latest information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Pia Rosas Morato.
And I'm William Theo. Good day.